the top agents in Keller Williams in Southern California, really since Keller Williams has been started. So a lot of knowledge has been passed down that way as well too. And then if you don't know, John is also going to be the incoming president of the PB board next year. So I know he just got back from being in San Francisco, I believe it was San Francisco, correct me if I'm wrong, John, to where they learned a lot about some of this craziness that's been going on. So I thought John would be a really great person to have come on this call so that he can share a little bit about what top producers should be doing right now, what top producers should be preparing for right now as we kind of navigate all of this crazy stuff. So John, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and we'll get into kind of the nuts and bolts for the next half hour of what top agents should be doing right now.
Yeah, thank you, John. I think you gave a great introduction already. Yes, like John said, I've been working with, I'm the son of a broker, so I've been working in the business. I've been around the business my whole life. I've been licensed since 2012 and in it full time since then. And yeah, I was just in Sacramento, like John said, meeting with our some of our politicians, our local politicians up there, advocating for home ownership, talking with them, seeing how we can get more inventory on the market, how we can make homes more affordable for people, and then some other issues pertaining to insurance. I'm sure you guys are having issues with insurance out there, and a number of other things. And then right after that,
yeah, I was just going to say, John, you know, because I know my mother-in-law, you know, has a condo and she just got dropped from her insurance because they're leaving the state. What were some of the things that were brought up there on what we're going to do with that?
They don't have answers for us yet. So what we were doing was telling our stories, you know, telling stories like your mom, where, you know, they had a homeowner's insurance claim last year and then their homeowner provider didn't renew their policy. So what do?
Yeah.
You have to go out and try to find other plans, and you know it's really difficult to find those, and the California Fair Plan's very expensive. So they're listening, they're trying to work with the Department of Insurance to figure out ways to help us out, but they don't have answers for us yet, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So,
that's going to be a tough one for sure to navigate.
yeah.
What about some of the other stuff that you had mentioned too? What were some of your ahas or your takeaways on, as an agent, these are the things I should be really kind of focusing in on right now to make sure that, one, I'm establishing a good business for myself, but then two, taking care of the people that, you know, are my clients and really providing that value.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the question of the moment right now, right? So I'm sure a lot of you guys have been on Zooms and other trainings in your offices pertaining to the lawsuit and the new ways of doing business. At the CAR level and the NAR level, it's the same stuff. It's, you know, it's bringing value. It's changing how we do our presentations for our buyers and sellers. They gave us this really cool graphic actually that I can probably share with you guys about how commissions used to work, and then it was kind of a linear straight line as to how the money would flow from the seller to the through the listing to the listing agent. And now there's like a spider web of things that can happen. So
yeah,
yeah,
well, which is why I think people are getting really anxious, because that one line makes it really simple to understand. The spider web makes it a little bit more difficult for sure.
Yeah. So they've got our backs at CAR and NAR, and they're rolling out all kinds of great trainings, just like KW is. You know, it's just going to be an adjustment period, but I think it's going to be for the best in the long run.
Yeah. And that's, I keep hearing that a lot too, right? Is that, you know, we could take it from this kind of mindset that, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? But at the end of the day, if I have to be able to articulate my value better, if I have to be more professional, if I have to do more things and not necessarily do more things, but if I can make sure that the things that I am doing are being articulated to my clients and they feel like they're being taken care of better, and if the experience is a lot more transparent and professional, I don't think that's ever really a bad thing,
Absolutely. Amen.
right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to, make sure that we're up in our game as far as that goes. Awesome. So in terms of, you kind of went over a little bit of the value stuff and some of the things that you guys were on deck. What about locally? Like, so for the PV board, what are some of the things that we're doing locally to really start to kind of navigate what's next, and not just related to the buyers stuff in the NAR settlement, but just how are we, collectively as agents in the area, what are some of the things that we should be kind of focusing in on so that we can navigate through not just NAR, but things like the smaller inventory and getting more business? I mean, what are some of the things that you guys have been talking a little bit about more on the local level?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us and our team, it's really just getting back to the basics again. I tend to complicate things and I want to have a spreadsheet for everything and, want to make systems for things. And in reality, it's just picking up the phone and calling. And I know that can be challenging sometimes to do. It's like, who do I call? What do I say? And, I've been struggling with that my whole career. So lately, what we've been doing is, this is the last couple of years, we've been doing events for our database. So that makes it really easy to pick up the phone and say, hey, I just wanted to invite you to this event we're hosting. Tomorrow, actually, we're doing one of our events. It's we're giving away pies for Mother's Day. So we'll be posted up in the parking lot in PV. And we're gonna have some, music, and people are gonna drive up and hang out in the parking lot. So really simple event. It's really inexpensive. I think we're paying $5 per pie that we're giving away, but it's been a great excuse to call people and send out a bunch of touches, and a ton of people that we haven't talked to in years that haven't responded to any of our marketing materials. So for some reason, this one clicked with them, and they're coming, and we're re-engaging with some of these people. So that's just one of the 4 that we do. What is it? In March, we did a March Madness pool, like a March Madness bracket. I love college basketball. Yeah. So did that then, and that was really fun. Gave away some money to the winner. And then in the summertime, we do a bocce ball tournament in San Pedro, and we get some wine and food, and there's some really cool bocce ball courts underneath the Vincent Thomas Bridge. And then in the wintertime, we do a toy drive for Toys for Tots, like a client appreciation party. So,
yeah, I know you guys spend a lot of time focusing on really driving those events, and I think it's really smart because at the end of the day, we could cold call people all day long, but I think that being able to physically get face to face, and a really good friend of mine who's a top agent in Keller Williams, Bob Musato, always says there's nothing that beats getting belly to belly with people, and how you have a chance to connect with people on a different level. And that's what this business is really all about, right? It's, I always say it in the classes that I teach, it's if we don't know enough people to get the amount of business we want, we got to meet people. Well, making friends is fun, right? And once we make friends, if we ignore them, they're not going to be our friends. So we should probably develop a relationship. Well, that's pretty fun too. And then when they're ready to buy or sell real estate, we got to ask them for their business, and then we got to service it when we get it. It's really pretty basic, right?
yeah.
But I agree with you. I think a lot of people get hung up on the calls, and what you said is really smart. Is contacts are contacts. It doesn't matter how you do it. We just got to do it. And if we thrive in being in a more of a networking party kind of atmosphere, cool. If you crush it on the phones, that's great too. But the point of the matter is we just got to make the contacts.
Yeah, and that is just one of the things that we do as far as lead gen. We do some circle prospecting. We do open houses, door knocking around open houses. So it's, you kind of have to do a lot right now. It's still a fairly tough market as far as inventory goes, and, have to double, triple down on our efforts here.
Yeah, no, I love what are some of the things, because I know that's one of the things that KW has been talking about a lot recently, is the things that agents are really interested in learning more about right now. And the top two things, one was AI, and everybody's kind of interested in AI, and we won't really get into that here today. But the other one I thought was really kind of funny is that they said agents are asking more questions inside of Keller Williams right now about open houses. It was like the top two were AI and open houses. And
Huh.
open houses seems like it has old school, that's foundational stuff. But I think people are recognizing that, in this day and age of being TCPA friendly and compliant, making those phone calls sometimes, even if you're willing to do the calls, can be tough because people are on the do not call list. People aren't picking up their phone. And so how do I get out and meet people? And you said something about opens about, knocking on the doors. Kind of, do you knock on the doors before the open house, after the open house? Kind of what's your purpose for you guys when you're knocking on those doors around the opens? I always get interested in those kinds of strategies.
Yeah, we do a little bit of both. So I think the easiest door knock in the world is door knocking the neighbors immediately around the house that you're putting on the market. We just had one in Old Torrance, and all the neighbors knew about this house for some reason because they've been working on it for a long time. So everyone had some kind of story around the house in that neighborhood. So, and people want to know what's going on. So, we usually door knock 50 to 100 homes immediately around that house before the open house with a flyer or a door hanger. And then after the close, you went through again and door knocked those same houses, and you have a little bit of rapport with people. They kind of recognize you. A lot of them came to the open house. So, we met a couple hundred people over the course of that listing in that neighborhood and got a bunch of leads and following up now. So, they work.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I know that, one of the things I agree with you. I wasn't a big door knocker when I was in production, but the door knocks I would do is those invitations to the open houses before, because like you said, that is a pretty easy thing. Because if you're afraid of rejection, you're not actually asking them for anything. And if you are a little trepidatious on your sales skills, you're not really selling them anything either. It's like, hey, I'm holding the open house, would love to invite you as the neighbor. I'd love to get your feedback, maybe learn a little bit more about the neighborhood so that I can help sell this property a little bit better because you live here, you're the neighborhood experts. I value your opinion. Cool, right? And then
Yeah.
I think what you guys do is really key in the follow-up knock afterwards, because I know that's one of the things that a lot of agents have had success getting a lot of more leads from the opens is doing that follow-up one, especially if the open house was busy, because if the open house was really busy, now you can go back to those people and now maybe you knocked on their door before, maybe they came to the open, like you said, John. Now this is my third time talking to them. Those walls are down, and now I don't need to ask them necessarily for their business. I could just say, hey, we had 30 people come through this open house. There's lots of activity. We're probably going to get multiple offers on this. Unfortunately, there's only one house. Do you know anybody else in the neighborhood that's looking to potentially sell their house? Because I think we might have a lot of buyers, right?
Yeah. Yep. They're out there,
So
guys.
that's a
I know the inventory is low, but people want to sell. They're out there.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I thought was, and John, we just talked about this a little while ago in terms of from a mindset standpoint, for those of us thinking that maybe there's not a lot of business out there and the business is tough. One of the things that I did recently for our ALC is I kind of looked and saw, hey, who in the South Bay is selling on the hill that's not office isn't on the hill? And what I had found was there was a significant amount of business, kind of like in those onesies or twosies, that were sold by off-hill agents on the hill that didn't have dominant market share. I mean, we're talking about a few hundred. And so I think that what we learned in kind of looking at that was, hey, you know what? Maybe not this agent that isn't on the hill but selling 20 or 30 houses on the hill. She's got a presence. But all of these other people that are only doing one or two transactions, as an agent that's on the hill, I probably should have done a better job and gone out there and got a bulk of that business. And so I guess the moral of the story there is if you think that there's not a lot of business out there, there's a lot of agents out there that are kind of getting randomly 1 or 2 transactions here or there. Or if we're just a little bit more purposeful, we could probably go out there and get that business ourselves.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, there's tons of opportunity out there right now.
Okay, so what I heard from you was, events, open houses, and then what do you guys do with, you mentioned a little bit about circle prospecting. What are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, so I have a list that we created for different neighborhoods that have turnover, and then we just call through that list, called through it a couple of times, and just it's simple, just like, hey, we got a buyer that's looking to move into your neighborhood. Who do you know in the area that's looking to sell? Really that simple. Most people say, oh no, I don't know of anybody, or maybe in a couple of years. Great. So put them on a drip campaign and we follow up with them over the course of a few years. But that I think is an easy call to make too. Especially if you've got the actual buyer. Some people say, oh, I've got a buyer, but you don't. But if you have a buyer you're actively looking for in this low inventory market, what better value to them than actually reaching out to homeowners in that specific neighborhood that they want to live in and finding them a home maybe off market. So it's twofold. It's helping them find a house, and then also and also maybe if that specific house doesn't work for them, maybe you get a listing out of it. So
yeah, I think that's one of the best or smartest. That's a big reason why we all should have at least one farm, because we want to have that pool of buyers so that it's a little bit easier for us to penetrate potentially getting listings in a market. And another kind of hack I think that's really good too is if I'm a newer agent and I'm not working with a whole lot of people yet, again, sometimes making that call gets to be a little bit rough because we don't want to lie. Like John said, if I don't really have buyers, I don't want to call a bunch of sellers in the neighborhood saying I have buyers, and then somebody says, okay, cool, bring some buyers by and maybe we'll talk business, and now I don't have anybody, right?
Yeah.
But the things that I would pay attention to, say for example, in the team meetings, is when we go over our needs and wants and where we have buyers and things like that. If I'm a newer agent and I hear 2 or 3 of our agents are looking in a particular neighborhood, cool. They're not my buyers, but I can call, and because I know basically where there are some buyers, so I can call a neighborhood saying, hey, listen, we got some buyers. Do you know anybody? And if they say, bring them, now I can go back to John, or I can go back to, whoever those people were and say, hey, listen, here's a pocket listing, or here's somebody that might want to sell. Let's see if we can put something together, right? So now you can tap into your market centers, where the buyers are coming from in your market centers to help you make those calls. But I really like what you do there because it's one of those rejection, because I know the biggest hang up people have on making calls is the whole fear of rejection thing. And it's really a rejection proof call. So I'm not really asking you for anything. I'm just saying, hey, I got a buyer. Do you know anybody in the neighborhood who's looking to buy or sell? No? Okay, cool. If you think of somebody, let me know. I'll follow up with you in a couple of weeks.
Totally. And if it's real, it comes across more authentic on the phone too. It's, if you say something like, hey, I got this family of 4 that are looking to move into the Vista del Oro neighborhood, and they really want to be in there before the end of the year or the start of this new school year. And anyone that's in the area that's looking to sell, that we can connect with these folks. They've seen all the active inventory and nothing seems to work for them. So I think if you have some more specifics like that, there's less rejection, because I think it does come across on the other end that you are truly trying to help these folks. And, oftentimes it doesn't come across as being intrusive. It's more, bringing value to your clients and helping some folks.
Yeah, well, I think especially being descriptive like that, what I really like what you said there, John, is, hey, it's this family looking to move in before the holidays. And if I'm, a person that lives in that neighborhood and you're describing to me what sounds to be like a perfect neighbor, I kind of want to help them out.
Yep.
Because the alternative could be somebody that stays up till 3 o'clock in the morning every morning playing drums and has people peeling out of the parking or out of the garage and everything like that. So I think that the better descriptive, like you said, if we could describe this really great family that we're trying to assist, that might make me probably say, hey, you know, if I hear something that sounds like a good neighbor, I'd like
Totally.
that
Yeah.
rather than the bongo playing guy till 2 o'clock in the morning every day.
Yep. Um,
Uh, Now, I know that one of the things that we've seen in the, you know, recently with just kind of just the general South Bay is a reduction in inventory rates. We've been hearing are going to go down, but then we hear now they're not going to go down, all of that kind of stuff. What are some of the things that you're doing and that your team's doing to really just kind of keep that mindset around, hey, it doesn't matter what the market's doing. This is what we got to do. So what activities, what things are helping you guys focus in on what you need to do every day and kind of shut out the noise?
yeah, that's a great question. I think that my dad is just really good at that. He's never focused on the news. He's never focused on what rates are doing. I think I've just maybe inherited a little bit of that from him. Part of it is we have big goals, and you know, it does take big action, big activity in order to achieve those goals. So we've been able to, you know, go through the what is it called? The economic model. Is that it?
Mhm.
I'm always confused. So we know exactly how many
Yep.
comments we have to make in order to achieve our goal. So everyone on our team has done that. I think Eric's on the call. He's gone through that exercise too. He's on our team. So we all know like what our number is that we have to hit each day, each week in order to achieve that goal. So that makes it easy where it's like, oh, I just need to go on 2 appointments this week. It's not, oh my God, I have to make 300 contacts. It's, I just got to find 2 appointments. That's kind of the main metric that we look at. So we know if we hit that goal every week, we should be on track to achieve our yearly goals. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty funny that you say that because I'm that's one of the first things I always do when I meet with an agent for the first time is kind of go through the economic model stuff because I can't help you get what you want if I don't know how to do it. And the economic model is kind of the how.
yep.
But what's really, I think, amazing, especially for those of you newer agents that are on here, if you haven't done an economic model yet, sit down with your team leader or your productivity coach and have them take you through that. Because I know sometimes looking at, say, for example, hey, I want to make $200,000 in real estate, but that seems like, you know, maybe whatever field I came in from before, I've never made more than $60,000. And so $200,000 seems like it's this big scary thing. But in reality, because our commissions are so high, because of the price points of the area that we're in, you know, the amount of sales that we have to do aren't as crazy as like a lot of other places. And then when you really break it down even further into how many appointments I need to go on to make the money that I want to make, what it usually kind of the combos I usually have with people, what it really comes out to is a lot of people can make about 200 grand a year by going on 2 appointments a month. And what I always tell people is that if you got paid, if you were taking a W-2 employee job, and your only job, it's 160 hours a month was to set and hold 2 or 3 appointments, could you do it? And when you kind of frame it like that, it almost sounds ridiculous, right? Is
Yeah.
that if I just go out there, it seems so simple, but if I just go out there and I hold 1 appointment a week, I'm going to crush. I mean, if I got 40 hours to set and hold 1 appointment, if you do that, you're going to crush it,
Yep. It's simple.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
business is really simple, but it's hard because it's hard because you have to discipline yourself to do the boring things, right? The
Yep.
repetitive,
What Gary
which
said.
is what, yeah. Yeah, the most successful people are really boring because they just do the activities and the actions that it's going to take to get the business they want every day, and they know their numbers. And I think that's what's really important. And you guys definitely know your numbers. Okay, quick last question, and then we'll see if there's any Q&A, and we'll get everybody out of here for this Friday. What do you think the market's going to do? Or I know you don't have a crystal ball, but based on who you've been talking to and the board and all that kind of stuff, what's kind of the prognosis for the rest of the year? What is everybody kind of predicting the market's going to look like here in the South Bay?
Me, I don't think the market's going to change much. I know they keep saying, you talk to lenders and they say, oh, the rates are going to come down by the end of the year. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think the news this week said that. So, I still think inventory is going to be low, until we have some, a lot more building happening or something in the market that causes people to put their homes on the market. I don't think we're going to see a big influx in inventory, and I think the demand to buy is still very high. So what I'm seeing, at least right now, is there's still multiple offers on most houses, not like the 15 to 20 offers we were seeing in 2021, 22, but I'm seeing, 3 to 5 offers on a lot of homes. So I'm sure you guys are seeing this too. It is tough competing out there to get your offers accepted. And, I think prices are going to continue to rise, maybe, not at the 22, 23 levels, but, maybe modest 3, 4, 5% for this year. So.
Awesome. Hey, well, John, last thing is I know we had a little quiet crew. Daniel's the only one with his camera on. And do we have any questions for John before we hop off? You can put them in the chat box too if you do. All right. You dropped a lot of great wisdom, a lot of great knowledge there, John. Always appreciate your time, and happy post Red Day, and you guys all have an amazing weekend. Thanks again, John, so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good one.
All right, guys.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.